Shalom, shalom, Shabbat, Adonai. Welcome to the Sixth Exodus program. Thank you for listening. The name of this segment is The Ten Commandments Simplified. I'd like to read to you the Ten Commandments and then go back and uh, highlight the emphasis on the Ten Commandments and how important they are and how easy they are to keep. Um, let's begin. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no gods before me. Number two, you shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of their parents to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. The third law, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuse his name. The fourth, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, or your male or female servant, or your animals, or any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that's within them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Now I'm going to stop there, and then I'll continue on with the final six. And I want to point out the simplicity of the Sabbath day and the Ten Commandments that God gave to his servant Moses. I also would like to say to you that I cannot be 100% sure that these are the laws that God will give us. I cannot be sure because in the book of Hebrew it says, a new commandment I will give unto you in those days when God returns us back. But if God does tell us to keep these laws, then this is what we are to do. And they are really simple. Now, as far as the first law, to have no gods before me, is easy. Don't worship anything you make with your hands, because that's where they come from. They come from things that you make with your hands. The number one idol today in the world is this thing called Jesus. It is the number one idol. It is not real. I mean, look at it. Listen to my words now. Listen to me. Black Americans, you are Hebrew. So how can a white picture of a white man with blue eyes be Hebrew? And the people who are in our country pretending to be us, these people didn't come there to the country until 1947. And the United Nations gave them a charter in 1948. These people are wanderers. Most of them came out of Spain, Russia, Poland, England, and the United States. That's where these people come from, who are in the land of our ancestors down. Don't become angry and want to go over there and drive them out or to fuss at them or yell at them. That's not how it's done. God take care of these things. He drive out our enemy. We are to love our enemy despite of how they treat us. We are to love our enemies. This is what is pleasing to God. Love your enemies. That's what he said. Love your enemies that despitefully use you. That's the law. Love your enemies, love your neighbors. Do these things and let God worry about our enemies. Don't you get angry. Don't you be mad and want to fight. This is darkness. You don't want to be on the side of darkness. But most idols are made by men's hands. And whatever you make with your own hand, that is an idol. So it's pretty simple. Don't worship these things. And don't worship that thing called Jesus. That thing is nothing but a piece of paper. It is the image of the beast. That is what it is. That's all it is. And Satan has deceived the whole world. The whole world has been deceived by worshiping this thing. But don't you worship it. Don't you be deceived. Okay, let's go to the next one. Second commandment, you should not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth. Now that goes back to the first commandment. He's saying the same thing again. Do not make anything. That means stars in the heaven, star, moon, the different phases. The moon go in half a moon, full moon. Don't make anything. The sun. Don't make anything to worship it and to bow down to it. On the earth are animals. Most things on the earth are animals. People are fascinated with animals. I think because they are stronger, bigger, faster. I don't know. But we are God's people. We are made in His image. So don't worship these animals. I mean, if you're having a team that you're playing on, play the game until we get delivered, and we'll have new names for our teams. There'll be new city names, and the owners of your team will think of new names. But do not worry about your career or change your career. God will fight your battles for you. Don't you do these things. Go on with your career and be successful and be pleasing in God's sight. Do not hate your enemies, but love them that despitefully use you. Your your protesting is admirable, but it doesn't do anything as far as your deliverance or making you more pleasing in God's sight. Keeping the law is pleasing to God's sight in the fear of God. Now, there are many people who have done admirable things and they have done sacrifices, but obedience is better than all your sacrifices. So be obedient and keep the law. Now, um, the third law is you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Let me say this real quick. You don't know his name. No one knows his name. So you're not guilty of this misusing the name of the Lord. You don't know his name. No one knows his name. The name of the Christ is not Jesus. The name of the Most High is not Jesus. So you don't know his name. Your oppressors made up this name so that they can have dominion over you. So the whole world is deceived by calling on upon a name. Do you remember in the word the Lord said, it's written in the word that the people say, Lord, have we not cast out demons in your name? Have we not done all these great things in your name? And the Lord said unto them, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. You understand? Now you know. So it's not, you don't have anything to worry about this law. You are all not guilty on this by misusing the name of the Most High. You have not, neither his son. The fourth law, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your sons, or your daughters, or your male or female, or your animals, or any foreigner residing in your towns. For the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that's within them, and he rested on the Sabbath day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Now, the fourth day, the Sabbath day. Okay, this is this is my understanding of the Sabbath day, and this is what I do. I keep the Sabbath day. I start Friday sunset until Saturday sunset. This is what I do. This is how I understand the Word of God, and this is what she has taught me, meaning wisdom. This is what wisdom has taught me. I have a preparation day. Preparation day is Thursday or Friday. Friday sunset starts the Sabbath, and it goes on until Saturday sunset. During that time, during the Sabbath day, I do not light any candles. I prepare I prepare all my meals on preparation day. That means Thursday or Friday, and Thursday and Friday. I cater all my food. So during the Sabbath, I don't cook anything. I only microwave my food. Rest. I don't do any work at all. I don't wash any dishes. I don't take the trash out until after the Sabbath. That means after Saturday sunset or Sunday morning, I take the trash out. I do not go to church or worship any idols, nor do I pray to them. I do not call upon them. I don't sing any songs with the song with Jesus in it. I sing the songs that are in the book of songs. Those are in my song. The songs I sing are on the website, on my website. They're called the Songs of Zion. They come from the book of songs. I don't sing, I don't mention the name Jesus because it is the beast's name. And so Satan have deceived the whole world on this thing, also on the Sabbath. Now, the people are going to um, worship on the Sunday. Now, Sunday, you won't believe this, but Sunday, do you recall seeing these sun discs around people's head in the older pictures? They have a sun disk around their head. Now, our people are going subconsciously are going to church to worship the sun. A lot of people go to church to subconsciously worship the sun on Sunday. But all of the days of the week are named after kings that was in Roman history. They changed the Julian calendar dates to name them after the kings that was in Roman history. But you don't have to worry about that. Don't think that because you know this information that you have to avoid every day by calling its name. You will not be guilty on this thing. Just know that the Sabbath day is not Sunday. It's Friday sunset until Saturday sunset. Now, during this time, you should practice. Practice doing what? Practice being quiet. Practice not saying anything. Practice emptying your mind about negative things and things that people say, people that are in your community, people that are in your broader community as far as state, government, whether it be federal, state, or local, people that are in your community, even people within your home. Empty yourself about feelings, negative feelings, or things that cause you to have ill feelings toward people, your neighbors, in other words. Give you a chance to empty yourself. Do not let the devil occupy space in your mind so that your mind can be clear before God. Now, God examines the whole body, the mind, and the heart, everything. So you want to keep your mind clear and clean and empty and not having any ill feelings toward your neighbor or your brother or your enemy. And this is what you need to do is practice. And you need to sleep. Sleep as often and eat as often as possible. Do not do any work. Do not wash dishes. Do not carry anything outside or inside. If you're going to keep these laws and the Sabbath day, then this is what you should do. Now, these first four laws pertain to God. They only pertain to God. They do not pertain to man or your neighbor. These are things that you are required to do. This is what God is asking you to do. God is asking you to do these things for Him. God's saying, do this for me. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. So if you love the Lord, this is what you would do. Now, as far as you athletes, you have to pray real hard about this and have peace about it, because a lot of you have careers, and by no means am I going to tell you to not to play to keep the laws. I think there'll be ample amount of days where you can be able to keep the Sabbath, and God knows all of you. He's not going to hold anything against you if you're playing a game on the Sabbath. God knows your heart. You know everything that you do. But if you love the Lord knows who you are. He knows every hair on your head. So you have a game. You don't have a game on Saturday always. And when you have an opportunity to keep the Sabbath, God knows He see you. He can watch you. He trust me. He watches you. He watches everything I do. Every step I take, He watches. I I promise you, He knows. Now the next six laws pertain to God. God wants you to do these to your neighbor and for yourself. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord thy God giveth you. That means obey. Simply means obey. The next law, the seventh law, do not murder. That means do not kill. If you love the Lord, do not kill your neighbor. Do not kill your brother. For whatever reason, if you're practicing, if you're keeping the Sabbath, you won't kill your brother because you'll be emptying yourself. You won't have an ill thought. You would have forgotten all about what your brother did to you or what he said to you. Okay. The eighth law: do not commit adultery. Now I'm going to say something to you about all these beautiful sisters we have. There are countless beautiful sisters. Our sisters, our own black sisters, and sisters that are not black. They are all around the world. They're beautiful and they are blessed. All kinds of curves. But if God bless you with a mate, keep that mate. The thing about adultery is that unfortunately you won't be able to not see any beautiful women. And God gave us this to control our flesh. And you will need to do this. Now, God teaches us abstinence and to be able to sustain. That's what He wants us to learn. Abstinence and to be able to have power to sustain, to abstain, to control your spirit, to control your flesh. If you love the Lord, you will do it. I'm telling you, if you love and you fear God, you will do it. If you don't have no fear, then, every girl you see, you'll whistle at her. And you have no control of your flesh, no self control. Have control of your flesh and put yourself under subjection. You cannot have every woman that you see. And don't think that you have this certain ability to please all women. That's just arrogance. You cannot please every woman, and don't try. It's adultery. The next law, the eighth law, do not steal. God give you everything you need in this life. You don't have to steal from your brother or your neighbor. It's not yours. Don't steal. Money, food, or anything else. God will provide for you. He provides for the ravens, the bird, and all the animals. And you are much more important to God than that. You need to trust your God, believe in Him, that He will provide for you. And just stand still and see the salvation of God. Ninth, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. That means do not lie on your neighbor. Now, neighbors are different personalities. Some neighbors are going to be a thorn in your flesh. Some neighbors are going to be very helpful. Some are very productive. You have different neighbors. Everybody don't have the same type of neighbors. Everyone have different neighbors. But God said, do not give false testimony against your neighbor. And the 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male, or his female servant, or his ox, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Now, covet means want. Want anything that your neighbor have. Do not want it. Some of your neighbors might have a beautiful wife. She might be built like a Coca-Cola bottle. Let me say something on this. And don't think ill of me when I say these things. I'm just sometimes I'm common. That means I might say something that is standard that common people will say, common speaking. But I'm not very common. But sometimes I might throw something out there. You might think, oh man, he's down to earth. Now, I'm going to say these things about this subject, covet. When I'm speaking to my brothers now, my brothers, if you marry a sister, if she's out of high school and she's built like a Coca-Cola bottle, and as she got older, she put on a few pounds, she might look like a 2 liter now. Don't look at your neighbor. As the songwriter say, don't let the green grass fool you. Don't look on the other side just because, she is thinner or whatever you like in a female or what's pleasing in your eyesight. Don't covet your neighbor's wife or your husband, or if he's tall, dark, and handsome, and you say, oh, he look like a big old tall glass of cool water. Don't desire him. He belongs to someone else. Have your own. Fertilize your own grass. In other words, if your spouse don't have long hair, take her to the beauty shop and let her buy her some weaves. Take her to the hairdressing. You have to fertilize your own grass, brothers. Fertilize your own grass. Don't look on the grass on the other side. Fertilize your own grass. If your wife is gaining some weight, don't talk about her and say she needs to lose weight. Take her to the gym. Go walking with her. Go exercise with her. Say, let's do some exercise together. Let's do some sit-ups together. Let's go walking to the park together. She is your mate. Stay with her and help her and be supportive of her. But don't desire another man's wife or his neighbor or anything that he have. Is he have a nice car? He got a nice Corvette and black on black. Um, don't want his car. That God did not bless you with a car. Hold on, God will bless you with what you need. You might need some. You might gonna have some children a few months, and you're not gonna need a two-seater Corvette. You're gonna need you're gonna need a SUV. So trust God that God knows your needs and He knows your desires. So these six laws pertain to your neighbor. So as you can see, the Ten Commandments, there are four and six laws, which are actually two laws, because the two laws, one pertaining to God and the other one pertains to your neighbor. So it's saying love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. So that is the Ten Commandments. That is the Ten Commandments 101. That is the Ten Commandments simplified. So you see how easy the Ten Commandments are? Very simple to keep. No idols. Don't pray to any idols. And keeping the Sabbath really is the success of the Ten Commandments. And when death is swallowed up in victory, this is when all of God's people will accept and do the Ten Commandments without any hesitation, and it will not be a stressor or a problem to you keeping it, or you will not be looking at your time clock to look at them, because when the NFL come on Sunday in Israel, you'll be right there, and you can listen to Sean and you listen to Stephen A. Smith on Sports Center or Sports Channel number 5, I think it is, whatever the sports channel would be in those days, and Monday Night Football. And you can keep the Sabbath, have your meals all prepared Friday, um, cater your food or cook. I prefer catering. So have someone cook your food for you. And during the whole Sabbath, it's like having a party at your house. Everybody. But for me, I like to practice, so I don't have a lot of people over on the Sabbath. I like to spend time with God and empty myself, because there's a lot of benefits that are going out on the Sabbath. And if you spend your time with God on the Sabbath and you spend time sitting and being quiet, God speaks to you and tell you a lot of things, a lot of information, and you can get the chance to know wisdom. She is phenomenal. You need to meet her. Oh boy. She is she is wonderful. She's in the family of God that most of you don't know yet, but you will get to know her. She is phenomenal. She is wonderful. And you get a chance to meet her. She is very intelligent. She can teach you many things as far as electronics, gadgets, new ideas. She has all of those things, and she's waiting to share them with you if you can be able to spend time with her. She is she is the one who was with God when God created the heavens and the earth. She was there. So she is awesome. I mean, she is awesome. You get the chance to know her. Her name is Wisdom. I'm not going to tell you her name, but share her. She is wisdom. That's all you need to know. Solomon said to get her and bind her about your neck. And we have a cousin. Her name is Understanding. She is also too very patient and beautiful, because once wisdom talks to you and tell you something, understanding is right behind her, making sure that you understand everything, breaking it down in detail. I mean detail, so that you can understand God's purpose and what God wants to implement in your life. Now, I want to end this segment on the Ten Commandments Simplified. And the 6 and 4 law is what I call it. It's actually the two laws that hem all the prophets. Because when the disciples asked him, said, Master, what is the greatest of all the commandments? And the Lord said, to love the Lord with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. I want to tell you what Dr. Martin Luther King said. Dr. King said, to love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy strength and all thy personality. That's what Dr. King said, with all thy personality. So this is what you do. With the first 4 laws pertain to God. God said, this is what I want you to do. He said, do these 4 for me and do these 6 for your neighbor that lives next to you, your neighbor in your community, your neighbor in your state, your neighbor that as far as God allows you to interact with different peoples in your life. These people are your neighbors. The Lord said to owe no man love. So people that God allow you to meet, you don't want to owe them no love. So God blesses you to meet different people. You and your life will meet different people than who God blessed me to meet. But the people that God bless you to meet is to owe them no love. Some people you can bless more than others. Some people don't need as much help. But when God puts you in contact with someone, they're there in your life for you to help them in some some realm, some fashion. And so when you spend time with God and you spend time with wisdom, you will know who God put you to meet in your life. And when you meet that person, don't think that that person is tiresome or a nuisance to you. Or you say, oh, this person's a thorn in my flesh. Don't look at it like that. Look at it as it's a blessing that God has count on you to minister to his people. And it's a blessing. Okay, now I want to end this segment on the 10 Commandments Simplified. It's the 10 Commandments 101. I want to say to you, I am not your teacher. You have a teacher already, which is the Most High. He is the teacher of all of us. He is help to all of us, one another. And we are to love one another and love your enemy and to wait diligently on the Lord until the Lord take us back to the land of our ancestors and to seek his face and do not be grievous in waiting for God because he is perfect. He's a perfect being and he is holy and he knows everything to do in detail. From generation to generation, God knows what will be, what will happen. The heathens, they don't know, but God knows. So be confident in this and be strong. Be strong in your waiting. I want to say to you, have the faith of Moses. Do you know when Moses was standing at the Red Sea and Pharaoh army was coming toward him and he was standing there and he had to trust in the Lord for deliverance? This is the faith that we need to have in our God, to stand with our loins girded about us and know that God is going to deliver us. No matter how bad things get, my brothers and sisters, God will carry out this thing for his people. He has promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and David that this thing will be done. So have confidence in God. Do not count out your blessings and don't lose your confidence. Cast not away your confidence. Keep your faith in God. Thank you for listening.